मेन एक्चुअली आपसे सवाल यही था कि कैन वी बी फ्रेंड्स?
Friends. It all depends what you mean by friend.
हाँ, so what is the definition of friends?
I don't know. Just a couple of friends. And two persons should have total respect for each other. That is the foundation of any good friendship. Also, not being possessive. Also, giving a lot of space to each other. These are the basics, I think. And these two persons can be totally different from each other. It hardly matters. It's not only an emotional connect, it's an intellectual connect, emotional connect. I don't like to use that word spirituality, but there is something like that, They are basically driven by some instinct which makes them think beyond their mundane existence. You hardly find such persons,
Theatre में, the thing is that we come across people, we meet for some time. There are these, great bonds that we share, and then we go our different ways. The theatre में, people are friendly, but not everybody is friends.
It's like a picnic,
Yeah.
A production is like a picnic. For 6 weeks you come together, you fall in love with each other, you share things, you become very vulnerable, and you think that this is a lasting bond. Then the show opens, you get bouquets or brickbats, finished. You don't make friends in theatre, lasting friends in theatre, or particularly in films. No friends. Again, films, that is a very competitive world, so I'm not talking about it. But in theatre, I have made a couple of very close. Dr. Lagoo was a very dear friend of mine, although he was very senior to me. But we had great friendship because we understood each other. But most of the two friends I talked to you about are not theatre persons. They are writers. One is a writer, one is a vocalist.
What did Dr. Lagoo understand about you in terms of, did he understand that you were different?
I never asked him, frankly. But he loved my work. That is what he used to say. Not that he did all my plays, he did only 2. But he followed me constantly. He was very protective also about me. I don't know how these things click, but they do. There is no real rational explanation. It's very difficult to say.
The writer friend that you have, can you ever co-write with him? Can you co-write with anybody?
No. That is impossible for me because when you write, it is your own vision. And your vision cannot be shared by any other person, sane person, He's a different person. His priorities are different. His understanding of life is different. His craft is different. So sharing is not possible. Not when you are writing.
But the minute, for a play, if I talk to you about talk to you as a playwright, the minute you write a play, we write a play and then submit it to the director, then immediately it is getting rewritten by everybody who's there, by the director, by the actor. So in that sense, it is a very collaborative medium. But when you did switch to essays, because a big part of your career, I know you don't like the word career, but a big part of your career is essay writing. In that sense, you've kind of removed that middleman, the director, the actor. You're speaking to your audience very directly.
I was a very lucky writer or a playwright in a way, because what happened was my directors, like Vijaya Mehta, Alkazi, Dubey, and Dr. Lagoo himself, they were very understanding people. Whenever I wrote something and one of them wanted to do it, we used to sit together, discuss the entire text, threadbare. And if there were certain areas, and they always are, there are certain areas of slight disagreements or कि महेश यहाँ से यहाँ करो कर सकते हो क्या that कर. So the entire paperwork was done between the director and the writer. It was later on that the play went on the rehearsal floor. And I never meddled into the director's relationship with his actors. That is unethical. All that I wanted my director to know was already told him. So I never had a problem. I mean, later on it does happen that when you see your own play on stage, you realize that, well, this is not what I meant, this is different. But this is bound to happen. Because there are so many agencies, actors, director, even the set wala and lighting wala. I mean, everybody contributes, and what you see sometimes is not as good as what you wrote, but sometimes it can be better than what you wrote. This also happens. That is the magic of theatre.
Yeah, but did that discrepancy, either positive or negative, was it the thing that kind of propelled you to remove all this and say, I'll speak to my audience directly. Let it be a solitary experience. Let it not be a community experience.
No, not necessarily, because initially also, occasionally I did write essays. It's a totally different genre, and that definitely gave me a lot of freedom. Cricket, I mean, theatre is like cricket, There are so many players, 11 players. And you have to be on good terms with them.
Teamwork.
Yeah, it's a teamwork. All that is true. Collaborative and all that. Although I didn't have to collaborate with my actors or stage designer. That was done by my director. But writing essays is like swimming. There's nobody else between you and the water. It gives you complete freedom.
But did it never occur to you that let me direct my own play? I'll keep my vision intact.
No, I can't do it because, a director's job is a very difficult job. He has to get on with about 20 people. And I can't get on with anybody for more than 15 minutes. So.
But you say that, but at the same time, you are a very social person. You have friends. You kind of lead this dual life that although you have this Nagpur home where you live alone, but you are not a asocial person. You are out there. You have friends. You are good. Everybody loves you. Everybody speaks highly of you.
Yeah, but when I live like this, my interaction with the people is on a sort of superficial level.
Achha.
We come together, we chat, we laugh our heads off and all that. But there is a certain very private part of my life which is not accessible to them. I don't have to do that. They also don't have to do that. It's a sort of socialization. You can also, sometimes it can be very empty also. But well, that is part of life. Nagpur gives me a sort of, what should I say? I can be away from this mad rush of Bombay or Pune, I don't like those cities at all. Nagpur gives me that freedom. I can have my own time. I can live with myself. And I may not be antisocial, but I'm not a very social person also. I like to be with myself. I mean, the 20 months of pandemic, I was not bored on one single day. I kept busy. I was working.
Do you, was it a bit of an ego boost initially when you thought that I am going to go away from all this? I am different and I am not going to be a prolific writer. I am going to write when I like. Did that in every way satiate your ego in a way that...
No. I mean, the very fact that I became a writer is an accident. I never thought I would be a writer. I started writing very late in my life. I was 28. These days, your career is over by 28, I started it at 28, and even then, I wrote only when I wanted to. I felt like I'm a lazy person. I'm a typical Vidarbhi person. Secondly, I expected a lot from myself. Whenever I thought that I have written something substandard, I never bothered to send it to my publisher or any director. I just tore it up. I have certain standards. I am a great reader, so I have read a lot from the Western literature, European literature, French and German and all that. So I knew what is best in theater. So I may not be as good as them, but there should be a certain amount of excellence in what one writes. When it happened, well, I gave it to Vijaya or Dr. Lagoo, but otherwise I just tore up many things. Secondly, I do not write every day, There are some professional writers who sit down every day at 10:30 at the table and write till 4:30. I'm not like that because I have so many other things to do. So that way, it was not a career. Since it was not a career, there was no compulsion. I was under no pressure. It was not a question of ego. I like living like this, to please myself,
There was this there was an 8-year gap before you wrote Wada Chirebandi, which is one of the...
After party, I didn't write for 8 years because nothing occurred to me. So when you have nothing to say, why bother? Why write? कौन कह रहा है कि लिखो लिखो? Nobody was after me to write a play. There were no pressures, no compulsions. Friends like Dubey and Vijaya were saying, Mahesh, why don't you write something? I said, I don't feel like writing. I have nothing to say. But those 8 years were not a waste, I had a beautiful garden at the time. I used to...
Roses.
Rose मैं खुद करता था. The 20-25 roses थे. I used to work in the garden. That was a very happy period for me.
So was that a full stop or was that
No, I thought probably it is a full stop. But it didn't bother me because I was reading, I was traveling, I was listening to music. And all my theatre friends and film friends, they used to come and stay with me. So I was in touch with them. They hadn't abandoned me. कि नागपुर में आने के बाद जाएंगे कहाँ? एक ही तो मकान था यहाँ पे. It was much later on that one fine morning I felt that, well, I think I could write this new play.
How?
It just happened.
Like a eureka moment, you were in the shower and...
No, it just happened, when you never know when you will start writing because a lot of things are happening here. Lots of bits are floating around. So, and you are not aware of them in your day-to-day life.
But so, see, you were not partying, matlab, you're hosting your friends from theatre, you're growing roses, you're teaching probably at that time in the university. This environment doesn't seem entirely conducive for a classic like Wada Chirebandi to come out. So in that, were you also at the same time having harrowing nightmares, dreams, past this, what Shanta Gokhale calls as obsessive nostalgia with Padwa? Were there moments of this pain also in those 8 years, or was it just a good time that you were having?
No, you forget one thing. This is my urban life. But there is another part of my life which is directly related to Shirpur, We have this family mansion, huge mansion. And my brothers, my sisters, it's a sort of joint family. We were a lot of people together. Fortunately, we didn't fall on bad days the way the actors from Wada Chirebandi did. Yeah. Because my father was a very wise man. He packed us off and said, because we are going to lose our lands after the Land Selling Act came in 1949. You have to stand on your own feet and you will not be able to live like me, the way I have lived, doing nothing, only reading. So that saved us from the tragedy. But I was aware of what was happening around me. In my village, there are 4 or 5 families who were gone. Not sensible, not wise. They were still stuck in their old traditional
feudal
life system, and they were ruined within a matter of a decade or 2 decades. So
you were thinking about all of this in those 8 years as well? Were you thinking about all of this in those 8 years?
No, one doesn't think about these things consciously.
Actively.
It becomes a part of your personality. It seeps in, because that's such a what should I say?
Impressionable.
Yeah, it's a reality which affects you directly. So it was seeping in gradually. Every time I used to go to my village, somebody told me, do you know those Deshpandes? This happened, that happened. I said, my God. And where is he? He said, no, he ran away. Like that, you know. So all this was coming together, but again, I wasn't aware of this. But then one morning, one got up and I said, well, these things which are floating around, they have come together. Incidentally, at that time, Dubey was here. Dubey was telling me a story about such a family, Zamindar family from Bilaspur.
Acha.
They had bought a tractor. The tractor was kept in the courtyard. It was never used, you know. It just sank into the ground. And the family was gradually going to penury. I said, Satyadev, this is such a fascinating visual image, a tractor sinking. Then Dubey left. I said, why not start writing at least one scene? I will start with this scene. So I started doing it. The scene begins with this, no? The mention of tractor.
Yes.
And later on, it went on. The flow came, and I ended up writing an entire play. Because the material was already there, the experience was already there. All that was needed was a trigger, which Dubey gave. All my plays are written like that. I mean, sometimes it is a visual image, sometimes it is an acoustic image. Vasansi Chirnari, for instance. I was listening to Rabindra Sangeet. There is a song, Aji Jade Rate Tovar Abhishar. It's a visual of a old man dying, you know, waiting to be released from the mortal shackles. And I said, why not write a scene? So I sat down and write a scene. Then I wasn't even aware that there will be many characters in it. I thought it was going to be a monologue. But I sat down and other characters joined in. I didn't even ask them. They just joined in. All this happens on a very subconscious level. You know? It is after the first, and that is why the first draft is never a correct draft. Because you allow yourself to go on, you know.
Free flow.
Yeah. The craft part comes while you are preparing the second draft. You realize that this is unnecessarily said, this is not good, this is an overstatement, this is overwritten, so you edit it, you know. Because anything unnecessary in theatre is unbeautiful, simple. I learned it the hard way, you know, the story. We were quite a wealthy family, and my father lived a very Spartan life because he was a Gandhian.
But with golden buttons.
Yeah, with gold buttons. किसी ने grandfather या great grandfather क्यों होंगे?
Contradictory Gandhian.
Yeah. So, but he never bought anything, you know. Simple furniture, simple thing. So I said, Dada, I saw a beautiful pair of chairs in Deshmukh's house, so shall we buy them? I said, why? You don't live anywhere. Anyway, and nobody going to use those chairs. देहात में सब तो नीचे बैठते हैं. So मैंने कहा ठीक है. But then he said, सुन, I can buy you a diamond. I will buy you a 10-carat diamond. How long will you look at it? For a day. Your friends will be impressed for about 10 minutes. Tomorrow you will look at it 2 or 3 times. After a month or so, you will put it in a bank vault. Why? I mean, it's because it is completely unnecessary. Many beautiful things are really unnecessary, you know. We collect them and clutter for our lives. But that particular advice became a sort of motto. It was so useful to me when writing.
Editing rather.
Yeah, you edit it. Writing a play is not really writing it. Writing a play is editing it. You write a first draft and then you start editing it. Because you have to tell everything in 90 minutes in a given space. 35 to 40.
Why did you give yourself 90 minutes?
That is a very convenient, I mean, I chose to.
Because now we work in 70 minutes, so it is even less.
Yeah.
But वहाँ पे Broadway and everywhere it is 2.5, 3 hours also.
Because somewhere I was, I think, impressed, not impressed, but I was influenced by my musical training, you know. Music में क्या है घराने हैं ना, किराना घराना, then आगरा घराना, Gwalior Gharana, Banaras Gharana, Jaipur Gharana. All these घरानास have their own styles. किराना घराना में लंबी ये रहती है, एक एक घंटे का, सब ग्वालियर में विलंबित रहता है. जयपुर घराने में they condense their material in about 20 to 25 minutes. There is no ज़्यादा आलापी and there is nothing द्रुत. द्रुतलय में गाते ही नहीं, मैंने ट्रेडिशनल जयपुर वाले शुरू करते हैं. They do a lot of intricate, they create intricate patterns in ताns, दो के चार, चार के आठ, that kind of a thing. They play with tal all the time. But all that a Jaipur Gharana Gayak has to say is usually said in 20 to 25 minutes. Listen to Mallikarjun Mansur. तुम्हें पता चले वो अलाद यहाँ कहाँ से सीखे थे. And that suits my temperament also. You start saying something, do it as economically as possible, and be done with it.
But how do you identify the ugliness? How do you identify? Because see, the thing is, you may write something, and I understand that a writer has to brutally edit. I understand that, but you may write something. It may be an indulgence. A scene may be an indulgence. You may be going, especially if you're writing a monologue. You may be, because you are very fairly indulgent with your essays. They go everywhere around the world before they come to the point. But one tends to enjoy the indulgence also sometimes of the writer. Especially like if I have read all your work, then I'd like to hear you speak at length about the pond, or at length about Padwa, or at length about your mother. But how do you then, in those moments of indulgence, also say, okay, stop being a gourmand, maybe I need to snip these two ends or cut this line short? Sometimes, it can be like, when like a Shakespearean poetic line that is easy for the actor to learn, but you're trying to be economical about it.
A writer becomes indulgent in two ways. When he's writing his language, he is tempted to write a flowery language or very ornamental language, and the writer has to decide whether it is whether it corresponds with the nature of the text. If it doesn't, it is indulgence, and one should be, one should keep it at an arm's length. Second is when he comes to his characters. One has to find out whether a writer himself is sort of instilling his own personal feelings into the character. When I am writing, I am not writing about, when it comes to plays, okay? When I am writing a play, there are 10 characters and I am writing about them. I am not writing about me. So I have to decide what Chandu would say, what Parag would say, what Anjali would say. I have to live their lives. They cannot live my life.
You have to look at it like a journalist.
Yes. One has to be rather detached, sort of.
Yeah.
While writing an essay, I can be, because I write essay to be indulgent. I want to talk about myself, because I want to share my life with my sympathetic readers. And again, indulgence can be can turn into sentimentality very easily. There are quite a few places in my work, plays, which are considered sentimental, and they are sentimental.
But like negative connotation.
Yeah, and if they are not played against the text, they can be very mushy.
Like Garbo's climax?
Garbo is not exactly sentimental, it is rather melodramatic. I think it's very melodramatic.
The last scene.
Surprisingly, when Garbo is done in Hindi and Marathi, it sounds melodramatic, but I saw an English production of it, and somehow it worked very well. It worked very well.
I think there is a certain neutrality of voice that comes with English somehow. I don't know, because when we do English, when I come from English theatre background, so when we do English and then I see somehow there is a code switching that happens in regional language and in Hindi, where suddenly the actions coming out of the actor suddenly become very hard hitting. Something that was said a little stoically in English comes out as a little dramatic in Hindi or Marathi.
No, I think it is the ethos of the play and sensibility. Garbo has a very Western sensibility, and the ethos is unusual for a normal Indian. So an audience is shocked. Marathi audience was shocked. That was 50 years ago. Not now. No.
Now,
Yeah. While some plays like I don't know how Wada Chirebandi will look in English. Mahabanu wants to do it. I said, how are you going to do it? I mean, there are so many things Marathi into it, so many.
Maybe the setting will have to be changed.
I don't know.
Feudal Russia.
I mean, I am not against anybody doing any of my work, but it happens.
But before writing Vada, were you also thinking of Chekhov? Because you are aware that it has been compared with Chekhov.
Yeah, I read Chekhov.
But it, again, not a conscious decision to kind of ape.
No, but I mean, if you want to know, I mean, when I wrote Holi or Rakta Pushpa, I hadn't read Chekhov at that time. But even in those plays, there are more than 2 plays. Party also. Party.
Party.
In all these plays, all the characters are given their own lives, There is not one single important character supported by other characters, It's a what should I say, symphony. All these people come together with their own lives and they create a symphony. So somehow temperamentally, I was always like my mentor, master Chekhov. When I read Chekhov, I said, my God, how beautifully he has done it, I mean, it's a beautiful work, beautifully built work. If you remove one brick, it will collapse.
You can tell the entire story from the point of view of every character in Chekhov.
And there are certain things I cannot risk, in Marathi theatre. Like in Chekhov's plays, there are long passages, A character comes and speaks for a lamba paragraph. If you write like that, you will be immediately branded as a wordy writer.
But monologue is one of the most beautiful...
If it is a monologue, but 4 characters together on stage and everybody giving lamba speeches. And why not, in fact, according to me?
Why not?
But at the moment, it is a complete no-no. Because 30, 40 years ago, Indian people suddenly decided that theatre is only visuals. Language is unimportant.
The spectacle of it used to draw the crowds. So I think that's how it became.
Yes.
Do you think Chandu Kaka is the greatest Elkunchwar character?
I don't know.
Do you have any opinion on any that stand? Is it Raja Dhaksha or is it any one character that you feel resonates with you or has been told to you that, oh, this is the greatest character?
No, they are different people. Somehow, I don't know why people are fascinated by Chandu. Mohit has dedicated his films to Chandu. Have you seen that? I'll send you the link.
That I saw.
He had dedicated...
that was that Chandu.
He had dedicated that film to Chandu because he identifies himself with Chandu, I guess. I don't know.
Nana Patekar wanted to do that role?
Yeah. A lot of people wanted to do that. But I don't know.
I read somewhere that him sitting outside, Chandu Kaka sitting outside with his leg up on that chair, was you sitting at your mother's funeral or somebody's funeral. What was that scene?
Which scene?
When Chandu Kaka is sitting outside, he has his leg up, one leg up on the chair, and he's just found there sitting in silence. I heard somewhere, maybe I saw some interview where you were talking about how that was how you had sat in some funeral somewhere.
Yeah. That is the... Yeah. I mean, when my mother died, she was ailing, she was old. And in a way, we were very happy that it was a great relief for her, for us also. So we were all adults. I was 50 at that time. They were all not Rona, etc., except ladies in the house did their duty. But so I came out and sat in the veranda for a long time. I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I loved my mother. So I was watching the scene gradually changing, you know, Sham aa gayi, phir raat aa gayi. I was sitting there for about 4 to 5 hours doing nothing. And then I went, and then I woke up in the midst of the night and realized that my eyes were streaming. I didn't even know. I gave all that thing to Chandu. That is why the character says that, well, as a writer, haven't you given your certain experiences to other characters? We do it many times.
Also, is there any similarity with Chandu in his desire, in his search for this pond that keeps calling out to him?
No, I don't think I'm a very spiritual person. It is not fashionable anymore.
There is this constantly in all your writing, you keep going to this consciousness soup, this astral plane where, like how Emily Dickinson says, you know, forever is made up of nows. You keep going to these nows. I have heard multiple people debate this, that no, this is not nostalgia. For Mahesh, everything exists in one place. Time, I know you're interested in quantum physics. Do you see consciousness or the projection of consciousness as a higher dimension where time and timelines exist in one space?
That has been a very long trajectory. I mean, I became aware of time and space in theater, you know, when I started writing in theater.
I've heard your seminar called Time and Space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is where I discovered pause. I thought instead of writing pause, I used to write silence. And Vijaya Mehta said, Mahesh, there is nothing like silence in theater.
Because there's no silence in life.
Yeah. Then I said, there is no silence in life also, Vijaya Mehta. It is exactly, what is silence? Where is it? Then it made me read a lot about this, and I read Susan Sontag, I read Carl Jung, and I realized that as long as we are chained down by these two dimensions of time and space, there is no silence. Even if you sit in an air-conditioned room, you know, with all the doors closed, you know, you hear your pulse racing, you hear your heart throbbing. There is no silence. Even if you do not, even if you can, if you are a yogi and you stop all these things, bodily functions, your mind is constantly chattering. You literally hear words, you know. Your mind is constant. The first thing that happens when you open your eyes, you know, in the morning, you see your mind chattering.
Thoughts.
Yeah. Thought is not only thought. It becomes, your thought becomes word. We have created words, you know, it's such an artificial creation of human brain, but it has completely possessed us, you know. The word will not appear in your mind only when there is no thought. And that is silence. That is not possible because everything that moves does create noise. Like there are billions of galaxies, you know, right from a very small ant to the galaxies that have been there for millions of years. There is constant movement, and as long as there is movement, there is noise. So where is silence? The silence is only when this movement stops. Just imagine a second when suddenly all this, which is manifested, which we see, which covers by these galaxies, supposing all of these disappear, what remains? You would call them vacuum, you would call it Brahma, you would call it Moksha, whatever.
Dark matter, dark energy.
Yeah, you would call it, like Buddha said, Mahashunya, nothingness. You can't call any, but it will be totally silent. That silence is not a sort of dumb silence. It is a very, what should I say, pregnant silence, you know, pregnant with possibilities of creation. You know, that silence creates the manifested world. and everything goes back to it. But we can reach that stage only when your mind disappears. Your mind disappears only when your thoughts disappear. When your thoughts disappear, the words also disappear. I used to study a lot of Sanskrit literature at the time. I was taking lessons from a Shastriji in Indian philosophy. That is how it was explained to me. And I said, yes, this makes a lot of sense.
What you're describing sounds to me, I mean, I'm no physicist, I'm no scientist, but this sounds like what has been described to me as the concept of emergence, where the three-dimensional space kind of appears through this quantum world, through this process of emergence.
This is what quantum physics says now. No, initially people used to dismiss all this kind of stuff as
Science fiction.
spiritual. Where is the proof? I mean, there are certain things which do not have a proof, you know. It's because it's basically beyond the grasp of your intellect. But then Carl Jung started saying the same things. If you listen to Carl Jung, he's available on YouTube. Quantum physics also said the same things almost, because there is going to be a moment very soon now when the line of demarcation between spirituality and quantum physics will disappear. Yeah, God वगैरह कुछ नहीं है. Nobody is speaking about God. Nobody is speaking about religion. When you speak only about the basic, you know.
Are you like an existentialist in that sense?
No. I'm a very positive thinker, you know. I mean, if I have cleansed myself completely, if I have cleansed my mind completely, then I might join that eternal silence, you know. Existentialists do not believe in sort of release, you know. They are nihilists. They believe in devastation, you know. For them, there is, whatever is there is menace for them. It's not a menace for me. That is my home. For the existentialists,
yes.
It is nothing but full of, this entire cosmos is full of menace, where nothing means nothing. These are two different positions. There is a basic difference that Western, you know, the existentialism came into being only after or around Second World War.
Yes.
And the Second World War was because of Hitler. And Hitler was because of Nietzsche, who said God is dead now. And he proposed a particular kind of philosophy, a racial supremacy and all that. So the Second World War was the result of all that. After that, the Western world stopped thinking about God. They did not believe in God anymore. And there was despair, complete despair. Can you imagine how many people committed suicide? Great Kostler, Stefan Zweig, Sylvia Plath, so many writers, Hemingway, so many writers committed suicide in the later part of the 20th century. The Indian artists wouldn't do that. They negated everything. They negated life and they committed suicide. An Indian person doesn't negate anything. He renounces, he gives up and gives up contentedly. That is the difference. If I reject something, it is out of contentment because I know that it is not useful.
But there's also a sense of self-preservation somewhere as well, right?
I had no idea. Maybe it could be, but...
You want to enjoy your life. You want to have a good time. You want to be happy.
No, when somebody decides to be poor, if it is a decision taken in joy, the happiest person in the world is that person. You know, if you declutter your life from possessions, from money, from relationships also, then you are the happiest person under the sun because you are not dependent on anybody or anything. That is why renunciation is a beautiful thing. Renunciation is something which you do willingly, happily, not out of compulsion. उसे कोई मीनिंग नहीं है कंपल्सन. करते हैं ना लोग, यहाँ दान धर्म करो, वहाँ दान धर्म करो. It has no meaning. I have seen a couple of persons who lived like this. But there was a great scholar in Nagpur, Bhauji Daptari, Dr. Bhauji Daptari. उन्होंने ले लिया था ये vow कि I will live a poor life. And he didn't have anything, just 2 dhotis and a small bandi. And he didn't charge his patients, just enough. And he renounced everything and very happily.
Can you do it?
I don't think so. I want my creature comforts. I can't imagine myself living in a not very good house, or I have thrown fits when I was put into a bad hotel,
I remember the Taj people had to give you the Taj had to compensate you, right? They gave you a free room next time you visited.
Yeah.
But you keep going to this consciousness pool. You keep going, and everybody marvels at it. And it has a hypnotic effect to the reader when you go there. Are there any rules to this world? Are there, when you go there, and you've gone there in Necropolis, you've gone there in Monrag, are there any rules that govern this system, that this, I mean, we call it, for our ease, we call it an essay. It's not necessarily an essay. It is your own autofiction, kind of your own creation. Have you created a certain kind of a rule book to it? Okay.
Not a rule book, but I realized it very early in my life that nothing is permanent. Not even relationships are permanent. I think the most fragile things are relationships. We think that, well, this particular relationship will last for, well, we keep the facade. I mean, वहाँ पर जो रहता है वो ठीक रहे, but something gets lost. Since I was away from my family most of the time, I realized very soon on my I don't have to depend. I cannot depend on anybody for my happiness or for affection. So I was completely disillusioned about relationships. So I never bothered to rely on people for emotional sustenance or emotional support. And that has given me a tremendous amount of freedom. I am very happy with myself. That's why I like Emily.
She lived her life alone.
She didn't even leave her room. And if relationships are transient, life is transient, the entire reality is transient. One of these days, the earth will be blown up to smithereens. There will be no earth, nothing like that. The galaxy will disappear. The only thing that is not transient is the silence there.
But my question is that, say Necropolis, in the second chapter, we find ourselves on a beach in Melbourne, where then you're joined by this statue. There's Kamu there. There's Emily shows up. We look to the right and we end up on the ghats of Banaras. There is this space and time that is being crunched, and characters, fiction and non-fiction, that are appearing. But I never see the location transcend into, say, Peter Pan's Neverland, or these impossible places that one imagines an astral plane to be. The plane that we are existing in, these characters are existing in, is always in reality. So I'm saying, are there rules like that where you will not cut to, say, on the surface of the moon?
No, there are no rules. But again, let me tell you, since I am very aware of the transience of this reality, the reality we live in. And again, I realized that this is not the only reality I live in. I live in the reality of my dreams. I live in the reality of my imagination. I live in the reality of a pragmatic, realistic attitude of life. I live in the reality of literature. I live in the reality of arts, music, all these realities. That is one thing. All of them are transient. जैसे गाना होता है. I'm not talking about recorded music. You are listening to, say, Kumar Gandharva. He takes a beautiful tan. He finishes it. Immediately it has, disappeared. It is like pani mein just, you are writing a song on water.
It's a moment.
Yeah. It's so transient. Life is just like that. One. Secondly, since I didn't bother to, because I was disillusioned to create I didn't even try to form lasting relationships. But then, maybe because I was too demanding, I don't know. But then I found a great friendship in Emily Dickinson and Walt Whitman and Siddheshwari Devi. I found great friends in Michelangelo's Pieta. They are my friends, and for me, they are not just objects. They are really my friends. They live here. I've seen Emily sitting on the swing. So I create my own reality, and in that reality, there is no space and time. This minute we are on the beach of Melbourne. The second minute we are in Benares, and there was a servant in my house called Bhiva. He used to look after me, He was appointed to look after me. And I was more attached to him than I was attached to my parents. In fact, he groomed me, So Bhiva and Emily Dickinson can come together and chat very merrily, That is my reality. I create it. And when I create it, what is the time? The time is now. The time is now. Just imagine I am sitting here and Emily is sitting there and Yakshi also has come and Bhiva is there and we are chatting. It is very now. And we are in the now. You have stopped thinking about your past, you have stopped thinking about your future. Which means living in the now, living in the present is when your mind also disappears. That is what I believe in. But I don't know whether it is really happening.
No, but I'll also tell you that sometimes, because I am a chronic overthinker and I also pretend to be an actor. So when I'm really, really overthinking certain things and I'm, not in the best state of mind, if I do say a Hamlet monologue or a whatever XYZ, like a Nina or any person, for that period of time when Hamlet is inside me, is visiting me, that is meditation for me. For that entire monologue that I do, I am completely in the now. There's no present, there's no past, there's no worry, there's nothing.
Well, I will butt in. When you are doing Hamlet, thinking of Hamlet, sleeping, eating, drinking Hamlet, your mind has disappeared,
100%. I'm gone.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. But that is the beginning. There may come a moment when even these ploys would disappear and you might be able to experience silence. I mean, this is just a theory.
Without the assistance of this, you mean? You're saying without the assistance of a monologue, I'll be able to experience silence?
I think yes. I mean, they say it just happens. If you run after it, you may not find it, but it happens. There are lucky ones who are like that. I don't know, but...
It hasn't happened to you?
No. But I can perceive it. I may not be able to experience it, but I can perceive it. I think, yes, there is something like that. There are moments in one's life when, particularly when I'm sitting on the swing or in my garden, nothing is happening in my mind. I mean, for minutes together, suddenly I realized that, nothing was happening. I was just sitting there very quietly.
Such a great
it was, 3 minutes of quietness, It's such a resting experience, so restful. If the entire life is like that, what more do you want?
So I've not even referred to my notes yet. How much time do I have?
Another 10 minutes.
What do you think of reputation? Reputation.
Reputation. I have a very bad one.
Hence, I mean, this is what you say. I'm not saying that you have a bad reputation. If you ask me, there's no bad reputation. But what do you think of reputation?
I mean,
Is it important? Some people give it a lot of thought and energy to their reputation.
only insecure people would bother about it. I don't depend on the certificates given to me by other people.
But some people, their professions also
Some
depend.
do because, probably there are most writers, most actors, they are very insecure people. And they do want this recognition, which is as transient as anything else. I mean, today you are famous and tomorrow you are completely shelved. And again, somehow I have never, since I have not depended on people for emotional sustenance, I do not depend on them for my reputation. I am very confident of what I am. It may be very small, but it's okay. And I am very happy with that. I am no Chekhov, I am no Shaw, all right. But I'm fine, good.
Doesn't bother you. But do you see a mismatch between your reputation and who you are? Or somewhere you feel ki, you know what, actually, I might be like that.
I might be what?
Whatever the XYZ tag that has been attached to you.
No,
Does it ever kill your self-confidence? Or affect your perception of yourself? कि मैं सच में ऐसा हूँ क्या जैसा ये लोग बोल रहे हैं?
I mean, when I has been felicitated and has been given so many awards and all that, and I have always wondered, do I deserve this? Because I have read great literature, I have met great writers from many languages. They did definitely deserve all these things, if at all they are important. But I had certain, certain definition I had set my eyes on.
Of excellence.
Yeah, of excellence. I have not reached there. So as long as I do not please myself, it hardly matters what other people say. I have seen some great theatre, I mean, particularly in Poland. Polish theatre is extraordinary.
Naturalistic? Naturalistic?
Every kind of theatre. British theatre, I mean, extraordinary writing, extraordinary actors. I haven't reached that level of excellence. So I'm good as far as the Indian context is. पता नहीं कुछ अच्छा होगा तो टिकेगा नहीं तो नहीं टिकेगा.
I see you as an extremely witty and gentle and empathetic, more than anything else, empathetic person. You don't take yourself seriously, you make jokes about yourself. At the same time, you talk about art in a very serious way. I know that one of the reasons Rangayan split into two was because there was a commercial aspect to it that you and maybe Vijaya and you didn't want to pursue that commercial angle to theatre. You rejected that idea. You wanted to change productions maybe after 3 or 4 shows. I think I'm trying to get to the point that I'll read something to you. So Emily writes, I counted till they danced so their slippers leaped the town, and then I took a pencil to note the rebels down. And then they grew so jolly, I did resign the prig, and 10 of my once stately toes are marshalled for a jig.
Show it to me.
Snowflakes.
Fame is VA. Yes, but there is another poem, I think, which comes very close to my attitudes. I am a nobody. Who are you? Are you a nobody too? Don't tell them. They will advertise it. That is the poem.
Emily?
Yes. The moment you advertise yourself, you are known. And this is something I don't want. I share her sentiment, although I'm not exactly like that. I have not reached that height yet. But I think she was a very, very private person.
Very scientific temperament also.
I don't know, but totally metaphysical, because she was completely obsessed with the idea of eternity. Always. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me, and the carriage held just ourselves and eternity. She was complete very, very personal. When the soul hath a guest, it shuts the door. Divine majority standing outside, no more. Present no more. She did not live a very, eventful life. In fact, she was completely living in solitude, and which was a very natural thing for her, Very natural.
But did you ever think that the important or the significant or the serious theater that you do, that you're a part of, you're not writing a Nat Samrat, which is, collective, you're not writing for the claps or the performance. What did you think then was the purpose of your craft?
Craft? Well, if you are doing something, you have to done it very well. As simple as that.
No, but that is your internal thing. That is you justifying to yourself that I want to do the best version of whatever I can do.
Yeah.
But then if money or applause or people being quote unquote entertained is not the ultimate objective of your theater, which is at the end of the day, it's a community experience. People are coming together to witness something. Then what is?
Okay. Money never really was the object, because I am really not very interested in money. Because we were rich and then we decided to be poor. So that is, secondly, I had a good job and my needs are very, simple needs, Khana pina, achhi kitabe, thoda safar par. So money was never a very big...
And also you were getting your fill of sharing your education with the people because you were a professor.
Yeah, so that was never important for me. And money to मुझे परेशान हो जाऊंगा मैं कि I don't know how to handle money. मुझे किसी ने अगर 1 करोड़ दिया तो मुझे सब समझेगा नहीं कि कैसे क्या करूंगा मैं इसका. So that is not big. Now, when it comes to audience, I never expected or never wanted even a large audience, because I was groomed by Vijaya Mehta. You should know this because your generation should know this. There were people like this. Their group was called Rangayan. It was started by Vijaya Mehta, Tendulkar, Dr. Lagoo, sometime in 1959, And their object was, you select a new play, it's always a new play.
Original writer?
Yeah, original writer. And Tendulkar was just beginning at that time, So Tendulkar would write, Vijaya and Dr. and Sulabha, they would come together, do the play. They had membership of 500 people. Those 500 people were all the stalwarts from Marathi literature, Marathi cinema, like Karan Dikar and Kulkarni, G.A. Kulkarni, all those, Durga Bhagwat. So they would do about 5 to 6 shows and wind up.
Move on, yeah.
People say, why don't you do more plays? People want to see this. He said, no, we have learned something while rehearsing this play. Now move on to something else. Nobody wanted money. The advertisements में तो नाम भी नहीं रहते किसी के. Rangayan performance this play, that's all. और shows कहाँ पे होते थे? Topiwala Lane, Girgaon. We used to go together, remove the benches and desks and remove the cobwebs and perform there with 1-2 lights. So that's all. But that was perfect for me because the audience that came there,
it doesn't matter to them what the paraphernalia is.
No, in fact, good theatre is obstruction. बैठे आराम से air condition में. What we were doing was so bloody serious that people had to be come there, and it's an equally serious approach. Simple. That is why we didn't want to do more than 5 or 6 shows. It was after Wada Chirebandi that,
You could not control the success of it.
no, again, there was a problem. Initially, I didn't want to do it in a very large, on a very
Prithvi-
large scale. I said,
Prithvi
Vijaya,
theatre,
we shall do it in small places. No props, no sets, nothing. She said, Mohan is sinking money. He has so much money. And he said that we don't have to make any compromises. Do it, Mahesh, for me. Because by that time, she had become professional. So we did it. It worked, and they went on doing shows. But I didn't have to compromise on any front. No. We kept the purity of our production.
But the question remains the same, that what were you trying to achieve writing those stories and doing those productions if money or education were not the priority? Okay, let me rephrase. What did you expect the audience to take away from the show?
I continued writing. I might have stopped writing also after first 2 or 3 shows. But when I went to Mumbai for the shows of Holi and Sultan also true,
Very early on.
very early on, my first exposure, I was with Vijaya in the audience and all the great writers, like Karandikar, Durgabai, Bhagwat, Bapat, all those people had come. And for them, I was a greenhorn, But the way they responded to the text, they shared the text. After the show, they came and talked to us. They discussed things with me. And I said, my God, if people are so moved and if my work makes them, somewhere I felt that my entire being is being shared with them. I was sharing. My inner concerns were not only being shared, they were respected.
Yes.
That was the first experience. That kept me going. That kept me going.
Okay.
Because till that time, I never thought I am being understood by anybody. I used to think that I am a very misunderstood person.
I see.
Yes.
It was validation.
Yeah. Gossip karte hain, ye bolte hain, wo bolte hain, without any foundation. They don't understand
You were
me.
bothered by it.
I said, how can it happen? I don't talk about people like this. I never सवाल ही नहीं उठता है. Why should I discuss Shubhankar's life and say, yeah, but that is, we are gossip mongers anyway. But after the shows, very first show of Holi, I remember Kumud Bain, everybody, almost everybody in Mumbai at that time. The way they showed their concern, showed their appreciation, they're sharing, and very seriously. I remember the shows were over by 7 o'clock. Till 9:30 we were talking. Everybody stayed on. About 200 people stayed on. There was a discussion. So that was something new. That was very enriching also. But the first moment in my life, I was 30 at that time, when I realized that, well, there are people who understand me. Because that was the expression of my inner being, Holi and Sultan.
There are maybe your later plays, they have certain conceits, like Vasansi Chirnani has that body coming out, and it's a very interesting thing where it's not dead yet, it's not a soul, it's just the consciousness of the old man that is traveling. Similarly with Godson, it's 2 actors playing 3 roles. With Actors Exit, there's this mask. So we see your with Autobiography, similarly, there's the entire thing of middle of the stage and books come alive and characters from the books come alive. We see these, I'm, for the lack of a better word, I'm calling it a conceit, but there are these, experimental choices that you took, which you did not take with, say, a Holi, Sultan, Garbo, Desire on the Rocks, the earlier word, Wada Chirebandi and all that. How did these conceits come into the picture? Did you always wanted to do it? Were there certain conceits that you thought of but never could implement into a production?
No, I think every play came to me as a surprise. Every play for me was a sort of experiment, sort of sport also. अरे लिख देते हैं. That is what I mean.
But the plays that I mentioned were, the conceit was at the heart of it. Like the body, the consciousness traveling around the stage.
I told you, I mean, it's like walking into mist,
Yes.
You cannot see beyond 5 feet, 3 feet, You keep walking and gradually it opens up and you...
Yeah. The
Writing
nebulous-
every play is like that. I told you, Vasansi Jirani began with a song of Tagore. I listened to it and I just saw a man sleeping on a cot, dying. I said, I will write something about this man. And I sat down and I wrote the entire play in 2 days. Other characters joined in gradually, I didn't even know they were around, but they joined in. It happens. It happens.
But it was never the choice ki, acha, I have thought about ki, how about I give 2 actors 3 roles?
No, out of the question. Otherwise, I would have constantly written for Amol Palekar and Dr. Lagoo. I didn't. Even when I wrote Wada Chirebandi, I read it out to Dr. Lagoo. He was here. He said, Mahesh, this is not my play. I said, of course it is not your play. What do you mean? So, no, I said, this is Vijaya's play. I said, I'll give it to Vijaya.
Jo, abhi, the poem that I just read, the Emily Dickinson poem, Snowflakes, it talks about how she was trying to count the steps of the dancers and she was trying to keep them on the beat. But they become so jolly and so energetic that they start leaping around the town. And after a point, she starts to make notes with her pencil in a diary. Then she realizes that this is futile. And then she finds her own toes moving to the rhythm and she starts dancing. I have heard you speak about, counting in music, the beats and how you were moved by how one arrangement was, you thought it was 15 and a half beats and then it turned out it was a composition in 31 beats. 31 beats,
32.
right? 32 beats. And you were like moved by that. There is a certain chemistry, a certain measurement to the writing process, whether it be essays or your plays. Did you ever find yourself to be just having fun? Because that, as actors, we keep telling our actors, there's magic if, there's Stanislavski.
Yeah, I had fun when I wrote Holi and then Pratibimb. I was on a trip when I wrote those 2 plays, except the last bit in Pratibimb.
Hey, trip as in like literal trip?
Great trip. I loved it because I had great fun. Although I was saying some very important things. But those 2 plays came in a gush. Just bad job.
There was a playfulness to... Did you find yourself having fun when you write, or is there a certain sense of that you're trying to clean yourself, or are you trying to...
No, I mean, it's not a question of fun. The writing itself is a very boring act. I wish the technology is advanced enough so that I can put a plug here and it gets written.
Yeah.
It's labor.
It's administrative work.
Yeah. It's labor. But then you have to be very careful how you construct your sentences, how you construct your dialogue, and a lot of things. But although it is not great fun, it is not torture also. I mean, there are writers who say that, my God, writing one line is such a torment, etc. For me, it's not true. I mean, because everything is organized here, already. I mean, ये तो मालूम है कि यहाँ जाना है बस आगे छोड़ दो होता है नहीं हुआ I have given up writing many plays I wrote about 10 pages and then I said no, it's not working.
So you never know the climax, you never know how it's going to end.
और जहाँ पे मालूम था मुझे वो नाटक I mean it didn't work. I was imposing myself on it. I think
you're trying to work towards a very specific goal then.
It becomes rationally constructed रहता है वो.
Is that what happened with maybe Pond?
No, not Pond. Pond, I mean, it's craftsmanship, as you say. This is right. But there was no other way you could end that,
Because I personally really enjoyed Pond and Yugant. I've really enjoyed them, especially Yugant. I thought it was a great stroke to kind of separate it from the reality of Wada Chirebandi entirely and give it this futuristic thing. But people have said that,
Most playwrights are very unhappy with the ends of their plays. Most. We begin the story and then we don't know where to go.
let me ask you again then, final question. Can we be friends?
What do you mean by friends?
Friends would imply, here I'm obviously using the word friends, but it is more about mentorship.
It becomes?
Mentorship.
No, I mean, friendships are built, One has to be very careful because it's a very fragile thing. One has to have total trust in each other, total respect for each other. One must be able to leave space for others. There are so many things. So leave it to a chance. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm a very difficult person to be friends with.
I also feel the same. For myself, I mean.
I have a very dear friend and we don't meet for years, in fact. But when we meet, as if it was yesterday we met, we just pick up the threads and we don't even talk to each other more. वो अगर आगे आया तो मैं पूना गया उनके घर में बैठा तो his wife keeps hovering around us. Why are you talking? Mahesh came after such a long time. You aren't even talking to him. I said, we don't need to talk.
Any advice now? I'm doing a production of Sonata, as you're aware.
Advice is don't bother about other people, their opinions. Just do what you want. Simple. Simple. Because if you depend on the certificates of other people, you will be a very unhappy person. No. Who are they to judge us? Be arrogant. Yeah.
It's a very bad advice to give an actor. Be arrogant.
No, do you know this? I don't allow people, what is the sentence Eleanor Roosevelt used to say? People cannot insult me without my permission.
That's true. That's true.
So you cannot allow them to undervalue you. It's not, I don't deserve, you don't deserve me. That is the attitude. It at least keeps you happy.
I quit.
No, at the end of the day, Shubhankar, we think it is a very major, important activity. And for us, individual level pe hai. But in the scheme of things, we are doing things which we enjoy, and I don't know why people attach so much importance to what others are saying. Because opinion form करने, मैं नाटक देखता हूँ, immediately आ जाता हूँ, बताता है ये बेकार है, ये खराब है, ये अच्छा है. इतना सिंपल तो नहीं है ना. 2-3 बार देखो, पढ़ो, सोचो, चर्चा करो, बाद में ओपिनियन बनाओ. Nobody does that. If you get such refined audience, तो और क्या चाहिए भाई? फिर मैं तो एक कमरे में भी रहूंगा, no problem.
For them.
For me.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
I thank you very much. I had a great rehearsal. Because the musicologist chap is coming. So I will be interviewing him.
Great. You have some questions now. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. You survived it.